Hello, hello, hello. So I'd like to take a look at the Sohcahtoa. And Sohcahtoa is like one of the first little devices that we learned to help us to make trigonometric equations out of the sine, the cosine, and the tangent. And so it's just a device. It's a way to help us make equations, like I said. And so it's not the whole story, but you have to add little details. For instance, here's the Sohcahtoa. So we're probably already familiar with that. The S stands for sine, the O stands for opposite, and the H stands for hypotenuse. And that makes one equation. But the equation looks like this: S for sine, and it has to be of some angle. So I'll use a theta, like that's an angle. So it always has to be sine of an angle, or the trig function of an angle. And this is not multiply. This is sine of an angle. So it's a different process altogether. So that's the angle. And then on the other side, the O stands for opposite, and the H stands for hypotenuse. So we have to add a few things. First off, the SOH only tells us so much, but it's sine of an angle. We have to add our equal sign. Equals the ratio, opposite over hypotenuse. And then we go to cosine. Cosine, COS, of an angle is equal to, A stands for adjacent. Adjacent really means right next to. So right next to the angle, over H, the hypotenuse. So the CAH only tells us so much. C for cosine of the angle. Got to put an equal sign in ourselves, equals the ratio, adjacent over hypotenuse. And then finally, the T stands for the tangent of an angle is equal to the opposite, O, over the adjacent. And so that's the basic setup. And then I've prepared a right triangle, because Sohcahtoa does have to do with right triangles. So we're going to want to make sure that we understand that. And so here is a right triangle. Okay, so Sohcahtoa. So this is a right triangle. We can check it with Pythagorean formula, but 5 squared plus 12 squared will be equal to 13 squared. That, of course, is our Pythagorean formula. So Sohcahtoa, it's important to know that it is always with respect to an angle, and it needs to be the acute angle for Sohcahtoa. So C is the right angle. We don't generally use Sohcahtoa for the right angle, but we do use it for the two acute angles. So angle A and angle B are my acute angles. And of course, you have to understand relationships. Like if I'm with reference to angle A, opposite is over here. That's the 12. Adjacent is here. That's the 5. And then the hypotenuse is the longest side. And the hypotenuse cannot be the adjacent side. Even if it's next to, the hypotenuse is the longest side, and it is always the hypotenuse. So we can start to make some equations using Sohcahtoa. And so let me go back up here. Let's cover up those equations, and we can make some equations. Let's do equations for angle A. So we'll go sine of angle A. And we'll say that that is equal to. Now, sine is opposite, equal to. Remember, we put the equal to ourselves. It's equal to a ratio. So for A, the opposite is 12. The hypotenuse is 13. That is our trigonometric equation with sine. And we are with reference to angle A, because if I change the angle, then opposites and adjacents are going to change. So let's go to cosine of the same angle. Cosine of angle A is equal to, and that's the CAH. That is a ratio of the adjacent is 5, over the hypotenuse is 13. And that's going to be our cosine. Then we go to tangent. TOA. Tangent of angle A is equal to, and this is my ratio for tangent of angle A. Opposite is 12. And adjacent is 5. And that's going to be, okay, for angle A. So what about angle B? I'm going to start with the sine of angle B. And it is always the sine of the angle. Now the relationship has changed because now it's with respect to angle B. Opposite is 5. Hypotenuse is 13. Opposite over hypotenuse, that's sine. And then we go to cosine of B. Cosine of angle B, the adjacent now is 12. So here's my ratio, 12 over the hypotenuse, which is 13. And then finally, the tangent, angle B. And the relationship for the ratio works like this. The opposite now, opposite B, other side is 5 over adjacent is 12. So that'll get us started with the Sohcahtoa. Still more to learn, but that at least get us started. Bye-bye now.